torture, which, by the way, if they're seen doing that, they can get killed right then and they were arrested for that. Okay?
But his statement was, hopefully I will be back if everything smooths out in a year and a half, 2 years. Your reaction?
My reaction is sooner is better. Please help them do it sooner. This cannot wait. Every day that you wait, more people are dying. And I fully trust in him to lead the transitional government. Anybody you see who has the sun and lion flag is telling you that they're trusting Pahlavi to run the transitional government. We are not all monarchists. That's not what it is. And neither is he, by the way. We all want a secular democracy. Now, what version of secular democracy, that we can, talk about later. But we believe in him. We know that the regime doesn't have him bought and paid. We know that he has been saying the same thing for 47 years, has never changed it, so we trust him. We trust him to run the transition. We want him there ASAP, but he can't just walk in there right now without any protection. True?
Absolutely. Okay. How many years have you been here since you've been there?
Well, it's been here since 91. So, I do the math. So, what is it? 26? Yeah, 37 years. Yeah.
All right. Your first name, your last name, so we
All right, just listening in there to these people react. She said she fled from Iran when she was 13 years old, arriving in the United States in 1991. We do have this live picture on the ground in Joint Base Andrews as Air Force One returning from Florida. We'll see if we have any comments from the president as he walks off of this plane. Listening in there to these one will head to the White House in just a matter of moments. And this comes in 36 hours after everything that unfolded. Operation Epic Fury, Central Command saying Sunday it struck the obviously assets in Iran, the heart of Iran. That's what Israeli officials are saying. But obviously tragedy also involved in this. There's 3 U.S. service members killed, 5 others seriously wounded. First American casualties since the U.S. and Israel launched that strike early in the morning hours in Saturday. U.S. military said several others returned to duty after sustaining what's called both minor shrapnel injuries and concussions. In a separate post, the military said the U.S. B-2 stealth bombers armed with 2,000-pound bombs struck Israel's or Iran's ballistic missile facilities on Saturday night. President Trump, meanwhile, said the U.S. forces had sunk 9 Iranian naval vessels and largely destroyed Iran's naval headquarters. So plenty to get to here on this Sunday, as President Trump also held calls with world leaders in the Middle East on Sunday. White House President Joe Biden said a day after announcing the United States began that nation combat operation. The President media that President Trump has spoken to leaders in Israel, Bahrain, a huge statement. Secretary of the President also believes that the American shooting and Austin and improvement picture the FBI investigated potential connections to terrorism, this nationally, and that 3 people dead, including 7 others were wounded. President Trump at Mar-a-Lago response to reporters on Friday to hand down to Washington, D.C. and So let's see who is going behind it, because we do know that different members of this cabinet will be bringing Congress with what's going on in the security headset, social media will brief members of Congress early in this week about exact operations, security prevention objectives, and anything for this combat operation that actually sends downloads around the world. President Trump said on Sunday that the U.S. will avenge the deaths of 3 service members and, quote, we will likely reward killed before conflict in the United States. The deaths of 9 American casualties in the U.S. and various forces launched that major military operation and intensified considered terrorism around the nation on Saturday. And after they revision of the lives of Al-Qaeda and spoke of a major attack by Israel and the United States. Announced that chance to, quote, take back their country. And state media in Iran reported that the 86-year-old was killed in an airstrike targeting his compound in downtown Tehran. Satellite images showed that the site was heavily bombed. His death as showed that he was among the people and the forefront responsibility. So, talking about that coming from state media. Iran, which responded to the strikes with their own counter-assault, warned of retribution, with the cabinet saying that, quote, this great crime will never go unanswered. Encouraging the IRGC, they are launching its potentially most intensive offensive operation ever. We've seen some of those assets, some of the casualties in Israel and beyond from that. Some strikes from different parts of Israel in the last several days. The attack also opened a stunning new chapter in U.S. intervention in Iran, carried the potential for those violence in a wider war, a larger entanglement concern. Represented a startling flex from the military into operation American platform that he got out of, quote, wars. The leader in the second turn on Iran and given the absence of a known successor because the 86-year-old Ayatollah had final say on all major policies during his decades in power. He led Iran's political establishment and the Revolutionary Guard, which he made centers of power in that governing bureaucracy, looking for the country until a new supreme leader is chosen. So we're going to continue to dive into anything that's going on with this. The joint U.S.-Israel operation, which officials say is planned for months, took place Saturday during the Muslim Holy Fasting month of Ramadan, the start of the Iranian work week. It followed negotiations and warnings from Trump, who last year trumpeted his administration's success in incapacitating the country's nuclear program, but nonetheless tasked the latest round as necessary as head of its resurgence. The aircraft was ready to head back to Washington, D.C. We just had this put up a couple other right now on my of what we are seeing in the live pictures. We've been gathering them from around the world, Tel Aviv, also the White House. President Trump will walk off these stairs. We'll see if he gets any comments to the media or pronounced public appearance, and plenty of questions about exactly what's going on right now with the end game, because during that video he released on social media, he said this conflict will, quote, continue until all objectives are achieved. And we mentioned talking about containing missile programs and eliminating threats. He also noted that there will likely be more U.S. soldiers killed, only 3 right now at this last check, losing their lives during this. He also noted that the IRGC offering an olive branch of sorts to them, saying the immunity of certain death. He tells people there in Iran, be brave, bold, and heroic as they are looking for that regime change there. We do see a demonstration in Southern California. We've seen different ones pop up in locations, pockets of people that fled Iran or are talking about how they hope this moment would come to fruition. They're gathering with American flags, Israeli flags, signage in parts of the United States in favor of what just unfolded. President Trump saying this could last upwards of 4 weeks. We're hearing from different experts in terms of foreign policy, lawmakers concerned that they might test the patience of the American people, because President Trump campaigned on not starting any of these forever wars during the campaign just a few short years ago. Also, to highlight the fact that we are just several months away from key midterm elections. That will be on the minds of a lot of people in terms of how people will cast their votes in November. So lots of Republicans and Democrats on the ticket likely to lean into whatever transpired and how long this lasts. But this is still watching here there. Washington, D.C. Plenty of other conversations. He did speak with the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, over the last several days. He spoke with world leaders, the UAE, of Bahrain. Some of those retaliatory strikes by Iran have not been necessarily only directed at Israel, directed at other U.S. interests and other neighboring countries there in that region, which is interesting to note, and potentially something that the foreign policy experts are keying in on, exactly what they're doing with this, with that power vacuum at the top of the IRGC, as the U.S. taking out the Ayatollah on the weekend, early in Saturday. The U.S. Secretary noted the amount of artillery, the posture and power that the U.S. unleashed upon Iran, not just this singular strike like we saw last week with, of course, with Operation Midnight Hammer, but with what's going on with this Operation Epic Fury, the Central Command talking about what they had unfold in this, and we'll lead on to some of what the U.S. assets they employed in this, including those B-2 stealth bombers with 2,000-pound bombs. They had drones, Patriot interceptor missile systems, F-18 fighter jets, F-16 fighter jets, F-22 fighter jets, F-35 stealth fighters. They also had airborne early warning and control aircraft, airborne communication relay. They had reconnaissance aircraft, two MQ-9 Reapers. They had M132 high mobility artillery rocket systems, nuclear powered aircraft carriers in both the Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf. They also had guided missile destroyers, counter drone systems, a tanker aircraft, refueling ships, and other special capabilities that they also noted from Central Command. So these are what we were talking about, what the United States and Israel was hunting. We're hoping to eliminate the capability of Iran to make nuclear weapons, also looking into some of those missile silos, the ability to strike those potentially through. So soon enough, President Trump will walk down the stairway, heading back to the White House. Plenty of conversations in secure areas, potentially even Situation Room, about what's unfolding. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth might as well be in tow with this. And we're also hearing from our Fox team, Chad Pergam, talking about this. And we're reading out to what he posted on social media, saying, quote, "There will be enhanced security measures at the U.S. Capitol beginning tonight and tomorrow because concerns about terrorism in the wake of the Iran strikes. There is no concrete threat to the Capitol, but there is their concern. Also, especially as Congress comes back into session, the House is out tomorrow, but the Senate meets Monday afternoon. Fox specifically asked if they would erect either a large bench a la the State of the Union post-January 6th around the Capitol Square or a smaller bicycle rack type of fence. Fox is told that no additional fencing is planned at this time. So concern of potentially terrorism around the country, around the world. We saw, we were watching what's going on in Austin, Texas, saying there was a potential nexus to terrorism as several people losing their lives, more than a dozen others injured, including one of those characteristics of the there in that state. So again, no good connection to what's going on in Iran, saying that, but people rarely concerned about that, aware of what's going on with the situation. So just still watching the news and I got President Trump walk down the stairs and head back to the White House here on this Sunday evening. Just past 6:30 on the East Coast. Hours. As we were going to our White House Fox right now, we're seeing monitor President Trump said he has presented events of three service members, and we're likely to see more so for the country around there to see where President Trump is going to TSA, grand volunteer walking downstairs right now, heading to the White House. So you see walking downstairs, you have another angle. We'll see if you have any comments or comments. Reporters and reporters what about the Florida helicopter crash? This is the other side of the jet or the carrier that might have salute the service members there that are assistance with this travel and the White House from Palm Beach and Mar-a-Lago. So heading back there on a chilly day as we enter the month of March, 36 hours into this conflict with Iran as Operation Epic Fury underway, saying it could last upwards of 4 weeks. We heard from security experts, FDB Executive Director Jonathan Chandra talking about potentially the lack of sophistication from Iran, but the durability that they've shown, that this obviously is hopes of a quick fight, but it could be an extended time. So President Trump there getting aboard Air Force One. Sometimes we see him with the Susie Wiles, sometimes we see him with other individuals in the cabinet. Looks like he is traveling alone here on this. So not any questions as he boards Marine One heading back to the White House here on this Sunday. All right, Andy Mack, let's slide away for a quick 2-minute break. We'll get you back out to more updates with us. Welcome back in here too, live now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. We just saw President Trump board Marine One heading back to Washington, D.C. and the White House. He did not take any questions from reporters as of yet. I imagine there's plenty of White House correspondents with lots of questions on their minds about what's unfolding in Iran as this Operation Epic Fury now underway, some 36 hours since that initial strike on Saturday morning. President Trump, though, posting on social media saying that they will continue until all objectives are achieved. Again, just this live picture there from Joint Base Andrews. President Trump not taking any questions. He landed from Marine One heading back to the White House. And sometimes people on the South Lawn will also get a chance to ask him some questions. This comes as the United States and Israel pounded targets across Iran on Sunday, dropping massive bombs on the country's ballistic missile sites, wiping out warships as part of an intensifying military campaign following the killing of the supreme leader, the Ayatollah. There, blast rattled the windows across the country, set plumes of smoke high into the sky above Tehran. More than 200 people have been killed since the start of the strikes that killed Khamenei and other senior leaders. Iran vowed revenge, firing missiles at Israel and Gulf Arab states in a counter-offensive that the U.S. military said resulted in the deaths of 3 service members, the first known American casualties from the conflict. Israel Rescue Services said strikes have hit several locations, including Jerusalem and a synagogue in the central town there, where 9 people were killed, 28 injured, bringing the overall death toll in the country of Israel to 11. The attacks in Iran showed no signs of relenting as the U.S. and Israel took aim at key military, political, and intelligence targets in what appeared to be a widening war that carried the potential for prolonged conflict that could envelop the Middle East and destabilize it. The strikes represented a startling show of military might for an American president who swept into office on a, quote, America First platform about to keep out of those forever wars. You can see President Trump there in Marine One heading to the White House. So we're following that closely here on Live Now from Fox. We're taking out to any such comments for the time being. And lawmakers are also wanting answers to what's going on there, what those objectives actually are as we tackle the restructuring of the IRGC, eventually that, the regime change at the front, but also eventually eliminating threats or that nuclear power capability. We want to put this up here from our Fox Capitol Hill team. Jack Horgan talking about there will be enhanced security measures at the U.S. Capitol beginning tonight and tomorrow because of concerns about terrorism in the wake of those strikes. There is no concrete threat to the Capitol, but there is concern, especially as Congress comes back into session. The House is out tomorrow, but the Senate meets Monday afternoon. Fox specifically asked if they would erect a large fence around the Capitol or a smaller fence. Fox is told no additional fencing is planned at this time. A live picture there in Washington, D.C. as President Trump heading to the White House. We'll see if we have any comments from him on that part of the journey. For the time being, though, let's sound away for a quick. Welcome to Live Now for Fox. I am Jack. Thank you so much for joining us 36 hours into this Operation Epic Hearing. President Trump not getting any questions from reporters as he head back to the White House for the time being. He said this will continue on until all objectives are achieved. And there's obviously some demonstrations taking place in areas like Los Angeles. We're also concerned about what might be killed domestically here on Live Now for Fox. So I want to continue on with that as we saw a tragedy unfold in Austin, Texas here as we were diving into the latest here about several incidents there as 2 people killed, more than a dozen others injured in the shooting overnight in their 6th Street Entertainment District. It's joined right now by Fox 7 Office Alex Nolan. Alex, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now for Fox. The FBI is looking into this nexus of terrorism. What can you tell us this latest update?
Yeah, so many people waking up here today in Austin and getting that quick alert that there's been a mass shooting. Obviously, because of what happened last night, we had a feeling that could there be some sort of retaliation. And after the over the middle there. But this coming on West 6th Street at a beer garden called Buford's. That shooter had a pistol and a rifle, what appears to be an AR-style rifle, opening up from his car, opening fire. We did receive some videos as well that show this alleged shooter, who we now know is a 53-year-old U.S. naturalized citizen from Senegal, who lives just about 20 to 25 minutes away from here at the station, opening fire. APD officers responded, according to the police chief, in less than a minute. We're talking 55 to 56 seconds here, responding to this situation, opening fire on the gunman, killing him, 2 others dying, so making it 3 total if you count the shooter, and then 14 others injured. And we do know right now there are still people in critical condition at the hospital.
Yeah, obviously a very sad moment, 2 killed, and obviously it could have been much worse if the police weren't so readily available and on the scene very quickly. I also want to put up this here as we talk about this potential nexus of terrorism. The FBI is still looking into it. Not sure of the motive at this moment, but no illusion, saying the photo has been obtained of this mass shooter armed and wearing their shirt that says property of Allah, of course. Talking about what's going on in Iran. Did they get into any specifics about the motive, about what they're looking into in regards to that?
Yeah, we potentially, I mean, the word potential is what is being used. So we are saying a potential active terror. This is something that they said early on in that early morning press conference. We had had multiple reporters on this. We just had a reporter actually outside the suspected gunman's house. I can tell you that. We do know that there was 8 FBI agents, APD officers going to that home, coming out with boxes of what appears to be evidence. There's also a white car in the driveway there that it looks as though someone has bashed in the window there. We're not quite sure what that is. We also saw people coming in and out of the house. We talked with the neighbor who said he saw drones, who said he saw canine units, SWAT teams coming in with assault rifles as well, getting a search warrant on this home. And in terms of the potential act of terrorism, we haven't gotten that as an exact motive from APD or FBI agents. And honestly, I don't suspect to hear from them for the rest of the night. But I can tell you that image that you showed there, which we have put out as well from Fox 7 Austin here. We also obtained a video, which you can find on my Instagram, Alec Nolan TV, and you can watch it. There's a suspected gunman there on the ground after appearing to get shot. And if you pause the video, and I know it's blurred in there and you can't see it, but I can tell you from watching that video, it is that same property of Allah hoodie that you're seeing right there. So once again, we don't have confirmation as to the motive. Right now, just being investigated as a potential act of terror. We do know that he lives in Pflugerville. If you're from Austin, that's not far away, about 20 minutes north. And it looks as though he lives with other people. And I believe he became a naturalized citizen about 20 years ago, a legal citizen, I should say, and then a naturalized citizen in 2013. So we're continuing to get more information, but as you know, Andy, it sometimes takes a while for law enforcement.
Yeah, it takes them a little bit of time as they're kind of diving into all these leads. If it was just something you picked out of the closet, or if there was something specific around exactly what you wore to obviously unload this and 2 people losing their lives, dozens of others injured. I do want to ask you more about Austin because we know the University of Texas is so prominent in the community there. How aware are people in Austin of what's going on in Iran? How aware are they of the politics of it all? Because obviously a young kind of crowd, a college town, so to speak. How aware are you of the global implications of what's going on in Iran?
That's a really great question, Andy. I think people need to understand that Austin, certainly out of all of the cities here in Texas, I would argue, is the most aware, I would say, of what's going on politically, globally, economically, internationally. This is a college town, but you're also talking about a very highly educated area. The politics here, this being the capital, Governor Greg Abbott is here. We know that so many people like to go outside the Capitol. And we saw this yesterday, Andy, and I captured video of this as well. Right after it had been confirmed that the Ayatollah had been killed, we have seen a group, hundreds of local Iranians going outside the Capitol and cheering, thanking President Donald Trump, thanking Israel. So this has been going on for weeks now. I mean, since January, we have seen these people outside begging for some help. And so I would argue that, yeah, this is an area that's very self-aware of what's going on and understands the implications of, hey, if you're going to, as I told one of my colleagues, take the head off the snake in Ayatollah, things can happen.
From a different perspective, obviously a very politically savvy group there in Austin, much like yourself. All right, Alex, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, your insight here on my podcast.
Andy, thanks anytime.
Thanks so much. All right, great conversation there is what we were following, the possibility, potential, and nexus of terrorism following this mass shooting that unfolded overnight on that 6th Street area there in Austin. Again, these were just some images that we're getting in from there. You can see lights and sirens as the police taking out this individual, and a photo on social media from Bill Melugin talking about this wearing a specific sweatshirt. He's not been identified by authorities. Multiple law enforcement sources say it's a 53-year-old naturalized U.S. citizen born in Senegal, lives in Pflugerville. Bill Melugin said he was told he's wearing an undershirt that had an Iranian flag on it as well. So interesting kind of combination, confluence of events. The FBI looking into it, Austin police keeping their eye on it. Let's take you out to this update from Austin police, I believe overnight, into what transpired there.
Everybody's now aware of a very significant incident on West 6th Street. We're going to have a briefing from the chief, as was just indicated to you. I want to say first, before I bring in Chief Davis, that I'm very thankful for the speed with which our public safety officials responded to this. That it saved lives. In fact, Chief Douglas will tell you about how quickly we were providing, those folks were providing help and aid to people, and that made a difference. But also our police officers who so rapidly responded and handled this situation. What we will do, and I'll mention this again a little bit later, but what we will do is get a briefing right now to get information to you, and then during the course of the day, as we continue this, we will, on a regular and routine basis, provide you additional information. So with that, I'm going to ask our police chief, Chief Davis, to come on.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start by saying my condolences to those that have been touched by this. This is a tragic incident. I want to start by saying how fortunate we were. If you imagine all of the resources that APD has on East 6th Street on the weekend, and fortunately those resources, after the bars were closing, were able to rapidly move here. Chief Lundquist will have more on that response, a co-response, but we were here rapidly due to that. This incident started with, again, that calls for a male shooting at Buford's Bar on West 6th Street. Officers immediately transitioned, came over East 6th to West 6th Street, and were faced with the individual with a gun. Three of our officers returned fire, killing the suspect. Again, as the mayor said, this is a situation that we are going to be talking about probably all day.
it potentially a nexus of terrorism. We're getting these new images from Fox News' Bill Melugin talking about this photo of that armed shooter wearing a sweatshirt not been identified, talking about he was also wearing an undershirt that had an Iranian flag on it as well. So some potentially concerning images there at this tragedy that unfolded in the early morning hours of that entertainment district in the Lone Star State. So honestly, following the latest with all of this Operation Epic Fury, 3 U.S. service members tragically losing their lives. President Trump saying they were unfortunately likely. One heading back to that location at this moment. So we'll see if he is greeted by reporters, if he answers any questions right now. But plenty to get into with what we saw unfold over the last several days, less than 2 days, less than 48 hours since this all unfolded in the early mornings, hours of February the 28th. Let's take you out to this report from Fox on what we know at this moment.
It's day 2 of U.S.-Israeli airstrikes in Iran, with violence now spreading across the Middle East as Tehran regroups and vows revenge after the killing of its supreme leader.
Acts of aggression.
Sunday, all sides traded strikes, with missiles targeting Tehran after retaliatory strikes hit multiple locations in Israel, including a synagogue. Meanwhile, drones and rockets struck American military installations around the Gulf.
This is not a war for the sake of war. This is a strategic war in order, once and for all, to stop this enormous, horrendous bloodshed of terror.
In a post online, President Trump revealed U.S. strikes destroyed 9 Iranian naval ships and largely destroyed Iran's naval headquarters. So far, at least 3 U.S. service members have died in the attacks.
We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more.
Meanwhile, here at home, much of the nation remains on high alert, with the smoking shooting in Austin, Texas now being investigated by the FBI after a gunman opened fire outside a bar, killing multiple people and injuring 14 others.
There were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism.
In New York, Ronald Scott, Fox News.
Thank you so much for that. Monitoring a couple pictures, including there in Tel Aviv, also the White House with President Trump on his way back for the time being after it was a busy week there in Palm Beach. And we're also learning more information about exactly what's unfolding in Israel as Iran retaliating. You can see this, a post from the IDF. The Israel Defense Forces saying sirens are sounding in northern Israel following a projectile fire from Lebanon, potentially one of those auxiliary proxy groups from Iran, talking about Houthis, Hamas, other Hezbollah groups. As you can see, Trey Yinks, our Fox News team there on the ground, talking about these rockets fired from Lebanon at the northern city Rafah. Let's take you out to this, what he posted on social media here moments ago.
This is breaking news. For the first time since this conflict erupted, rockets were fired from Lebanon into Israel. Sirens were sounding in the northern city of Haifa, Israel's third largest city, sending people into bomb shelters. The Lebanese militant group that is backed by Iran, its largest proxy, Hezbollah, has not claimed responsibility, but they are the organization that has thousands of rockets and missiles still in their arsenal. The IDF will likely respond by striking targets inside Lebanon. They have already